My father screamed, "Pack your things and get out of my house." So I moved out, canceled the $8,000 monthly autopay for their bills, and watched them lose everything to foreclosure. If you love true stories that touch the heart, subscribe and drop a hi with your location. We'd love to know where our family is growing from. Now let's continue. The smell of my mama's peach cobbler filled the dining room that Sunday evening, but something felt wrong. I'd been paying their bills for 3 years. Every mortgage payment, every utility, every credit card, $8,000 automatically leaving my account on the first of each month. Nobody ever said thank you. "Daddy, I need to talk about something," I started, setting down my fork. My father's eyes narrowed immediately. "I'm getting married next spring and Desmond and I need to start saving for our own house. I was thinking we could create a payment plan to transition the bills back." The crash of his fist on the table made the glasses jump. "You ungrateful, selfish girl." His voice thundered through the room. My mother sat frozen, eyes downcast. My sister Deanna smirked from across the table, while my brother Kevin just stared at his plate. "Daddy, I've been paying $96,000 a year. We gave you life," he roared, standing up. The vein in his temple throbbed. "We put a roof over your head for 18 years and this is how you repay us. By threatening to abandon your family." My hands trembled. "I'm not abandoning anyone. I just need help with. Pack your things and get out of my house." His words echoed off the walls. "If you're too selfish to take care of the people who raised you, then you don't belong here. Get out. Now." The room spun. My mother still wouldn't look at me. Deanna's smile widened. This was really happening. Sitting in my car outside their house, hands shaking on the steering wheel, memories flooded back. I wasn't always the cash cow. I was the scholarship kid, the one who got a full ride to a prestigious university while Deanna partied through community college on their dime and Kevin dropped out twice. I remembered being 14 hearing Daddy tell Mama, "That girl's going to be successful. Smart as a whip." He'd seemed proud then. When did that pride turn into entitlement? At 16 I worked 2 jobs, retail and tutoring, saving every penny. They told me college would be my responsibility. "We can't afford 3 kids in school," Mama had said, even though they'd just bought a brand new SUV. So I studied harder, applied for every scholarship, graduated valedictorian. The transition happened so gradually I barely noticed. First it was, "Just help with the electric bill this month, baby." Then the water bill. Then Daddy's car payment because family helps family. By the time I was 25, making 6 figures as a financial analyst, I was covering everything. They'd refinanced the house twice, increasing the mortgage payment each time. New cars appeared in the driveway. Luxury vacations to the Caribbean. "You make so much money," Mama would say, guilt dripping from every word. "We sacrificed everything for you children." But they sacrificed nothing for me. Every dollar I had, I earned. Every opportunity I created. And now, asking for the smallest consideration for my own future. I was the villain? My phone buzzed. "Desmond, how'd it go?" I couldn't even type a response. The tears came then, hot and bitter. I spent that night at Desmond's apartment, crying into his shoulder while he held me. "Baby, you've been so generous," he whispered, stroking my hair. "Too generous. They took advantage." "But they're my parents," I sobbed. "Families are supposed to help each other." Desmond pulled back, looking into my eyes. "Help goes both ways, Jasmine. When's the last time they helped you? Really helped you?" I couldn't answer. The silence was deafening. The next morning I returned to collect my things. The house was empty except for Deanna, lounging on the leather sectional, the one I'd paid for last year when theirs accidentally got ruined. She didn't even look up from her phone. "They're at church," she said, examining her nails. "Praying for your selfish soul, probably." "Deanna, you know this isn't fair." "Life isn't fair, sis." She finally met my eyes and the coldness there stunned me. "You make almost $200,000 a year. They need $8,000 a month. That's barely 40% of your income. Stop being dramatic. I need to build my own life." She laughed, sharp and cruel. "You don't have kids. You don't have real responsibilities. Just admit you care more about Desmond than your own blood." Money's changed you, made you forget where you came from. My blood ran cold. Where I came from? I came from working 16-hour days while you partied. I came from scholarships while you flunked out. Don't talk to me about forgetting. Deanna stood, getting in my face. Get your stuff and go. Nobody wants you here anyway. You were always Daddy's favorite until you got too big for your britches. Desmond helped me carry the last box into my apartment. The small one-bedroom I'd kept just in case, but rarely used since I'd been staying at their house to help with Daddy's recovery from his knee surgery. That was 18 months ago. I can't believe they're not even calling, I said, checking my phone for the 100th time. 3 days of silence. Not even my mother had reached out. Desmond sat beside me on the couch. Jasmine, I need to be honest with you. This relationship with your parents, it's not healthy. It's financial abuse. Don't say that. It is, baby. Listen, I've been doing some calculations. He pulled out his laptop. In 3 years, you've paid them approximately $288,000. That's $250,000. Have they ever asked about your retirement? Your savings? Your student loans? I had no student loans. Scholarships covered everything. But my retirement account was pathetically small for someone my age. My emergency fund was non-existent. I'd been living paycheck to paycheck despite earning nearly $200,000 annually. What if something happened to you? Desmond continued gently. What if you lost your job? Would they help you? The question hung in the air. I knew the answer. When my car broke down last year and I'd asked to delay one payment by 2 weeks, Daddy had called me irresponsible and mismanaging money. I'd taken out a payday loan instead, at 30% interest, to make their payment on time. The autopay comes out on the 1st, I whispered. That's 4 days away. Desmond took my hand. What are you going to do? I stared at our intertwined fingers. What was I going to do? At 11:47 p.m. my phone finally rang. Mama's name lit up the screen. My heart hammered as I answered. Baby girl. Her voice was soft, almost sweet. I've been so worried about you. Are you okay? Relief flooded through me. Mama, Your daddy feels terrible about what he said. You know how he gets when his blood sugar's high. He didn't mean those things. There was the excuse. Daddy's blood sugar, his stress, his knee pain. Always something justifying his cruelty. We need to talk about the bills situation, Mama continued. I've been looking at our finances and there's just no way we can cover everything ourselves right now. Your sister's car just broke down and Kevin needs help with rent. Mama, stop. My voice was steadier than I expected. I told you at dinner. I need to save for my own future. Silence. Then her tone shifted, colder, harder. Jasmine Marie Johnson, I raised you better than this. The Bible says honor thy father and mother. Or does that not matter to you anymore? It matters. But the Bible also says parents shouldn't provoke their children to anger. And Mama, I'm angry. I've been carrying this family for 3 years. Carrying this family? Her laugh was bitter. Child, you have no idea what carrying a family means. Try raising 3 children on minimum wage jobs while your own mama was dying of cancer. Try keeping food on the table when your husband got laid off. We've been carrying burdens since before you were born. Then let me help lighten my own load now. The payment's due in 4 days, Jasmine. You do what you need to do, but remember, family is forever. Money comes and goes, but blood is blood. She hung up. I stared at the phone, Mama's words echoing in my mind. I couldn't sleep. At 2 a.m., I opened my laptop and started reviewing my bank statements from the past 3 years. Desmond was right, I needed to see the full picture. $288,000 to their accounts. But what had they done with it? I logged into the property records website. Their house, the one Daddy called my house when he kicked me out, was worth maybe $350,000. But according to these records, they'd refinanced 3 times in 5 years. Current mortgage balance, $425,000. They were underwater. How was that possible? I dug deeper, my financial analyst brain kicking in. The first refinance happened 6 months before I started paying their bills. They'd taken out $80,000 in equity. The second one 8 months into my payments. Another $65,000. The third just last year. $55,000. Combined refinances. $200,000 in cash out equity. But where did it go? Then I found Deanna's social media. My stomach turned. Photos from the Bahamas. 2 months ago. Family vacation. Thanks mom and dad. #blessed. Kevin was there too, grinning beside a jet ski. I hadn't been invited. I'd been working overtime that week to afford a payment that included their vacation. More scrolling. Deanna's new Lexus, purchased 8 months ago. #daddy's girl, #new car smell. Kevin's posts about his investment opportunity. A food truck that failed within 3 months. They'd been using my money to subsidize everyone's lifestyle while I drove a used Honda and ate meal prep to save money. While I'd been feeling guilty for wanting to build my own future, they'd been living like lottery winners. The rage that filled me was white-hot and clarifying. This wasn't about family. This was about exploitation. My finger hovered over the autopay cancellation button. 2 days before the payment was due, Kevin texted me, "Dad said you're cutting us off." That's messed up, Jess. We're family. I stared at the message. Kevin, who hadn't worked a real job in 2 years. Kevin, whose failed business I'd unknowingly funded. Kevin, who'd never once asked how I was doing. I typed back, "Did Dad tell you he kicked me out? Did he mention I've paid nearly $300,000 in 3 years while you all took vacations I wasn't invited to?" 3 dots appeared and disappeared. Then, "You make bank though. Why you trippin'?" My hands shook with anger. I didn't respond. That afternoon, Deanna showed up at my workplace. Security called me down to the lobby, where she stood with mascara running down her face. Several coworkers lingered nearby, pretending not to watch. "Jasmine, please." She grabbed my arm. "Mama's having panic attacks. The mortgage payment is due tomorrow and they don't have it. They could lose the house. They've had 3 years to plan for this possibility," I said, pulling away. "I told Daddy months ago I was getting married. You're choosing a man over your family." Her voice rose. "Some man you've known for 2 years over the people who gave you life. Keep your voice down. No. Everyone needs to hear what kind of person you are." She turned to the gathering crowd. "My sister makes almost $200,000 a year, and she's letting our parents become homeless. Our daddy has diabetes, our mama has high blood pressure, and she doesn't care." A security guard stepped forward. "Ma'am, I need you to leave." Deanna's eyes blazed. "You're dead to me, Jasmine. Dead. I hope you and Desmond are happy together, because you'll never see any of us again." She stormed out. I stood there, trembling, aware of my coworkers' stares and whispers. The first of the month arrived. I woke at 6 a.m. staring at my phone. The autopay was scheduled for 9 a.m. I had 3 hours. Desmond stirred beside me. "Did you decide?" I'd been wrestling with this for 72 hours straight. The guilt was crushing. Images of Mama crying, Daddy losing the house he'd worked for. But competing images flashed too. Deanna in the Bahamas, Kevin's failed business, 3 years of thank yous that never came. "They raised me," I whispered. "Fed me, clothed me, kept me safe. Doesn't that count for something?" Desmond sat up, taking both my hands. "Baby, yes. That counts for everything. But parenting isn't supposed to be a loan with interest. You don't owe them your entire financial future because they did what parents are supposed to do. My culture, Black families help each other. Helping is one thing. Exploitation is another. Your parents helped Deanna and Kevin with school, cars, and vacations. They told you to figure it out yourself. You did. And now they're punishing you for being successful." At 7:15 my phone rang. "Daddy." I let it go to voicemail. He called again. And again. 8 calls in 10 minutes. Finally I answered. "Jasmine." His voice was tight, controlled. "We need to talk like adults. I apologize for losing my temper. Your mother and I have been under tremendous stress. But this situation, you canceling the autopay, is unacceptable. We had an agreement." "We never had an agreement, Daddy. You had an expectation. Don't play word games with me, girl. You have until 9 a.m. to fix this, or there will be consequences. What consequences? My voice was cold. You already kicked me out. You already told me I don't belong. What else can you do? He hung up. At 8:47 I logged into my bank account. My cursor hovered over the cancellation button. I clicked it. The call started at 9:03 a.m. Daddy, Mama, Deanna, Kevin, all four of them in rotation. I silenced my phone and went to work, but my hands trembled through every meeting. At lunch I had 47 missed calls and 63 text messages. I made myself read them. Daddy, you just destroyed this family. I hope you're proud. Mama, how could you do this to us? To me? I carried you for 9 months. Deanna, you're a heartless bitch. I always knew you thought you were better than us. Kevin, guess blood means nothing to you. Hope your fancy life is worth it. But then another text. From my Aunt Patricia, Mama's older sister. Jasmine, baby, call me. Please. I stepped outside and dialed her number with shaking fingers. Aunt Pat. Oh, honey. Her voice was warm, concerned. I just got off the phone with your mama. Well, she's saying some things. But I need to hear your side. What's really going on? The dam broke. Everything poured out. The 3 years of payments, the refinances, the vacations I wasn't invited to, Daddy's words, the public humiliation at my job. Aunt Patricia listened without interrupting. When I finished, silence stretched for a long moment. $8,000 a month? Her voice was incredulous. Jasmine Marie, are you telling me you've been paying $96,000 a year to your parents? Yes, ma'am. And they kicked you out when you asked to reduce it? Yes. Lord have mercy. She sighed deeply. Baby, I need to tell you something about your mama and daddy. Something you might not know. When your grandmama died, she left your mama $175,000. That was 10 years ago. Your daddy invested it in some scheme his friend had lost every penny within a year. Your mama's been bitter ever since. I think they've been trying to rebuild using you. Armed with Aunt Patricia's information, I hired a financial forensics specialist, a colleague who owed me a favor. Within 3 days she uncovered the full picture, and it was worse than I'd imagined. The $200,000 from refinances, $80,000 went to Kevin's failed food truck and a loan to Daddy's friend for another business scheme that never materialized. $65,000 funded Deanna's new car, the family vacation, and extensive home renovations, a pool they'd installed last summer. The final $55,000 had gone to credit card debt from shopping sprees and luxury purchases. But here's what made my blood boil. They'd been receiving rental income too. The basement apartment, the one I'd lived in rent-free before they kicked me out, had been rented to a tenant for $1,200 monthly for the past 14 months. They never told me. They pocketed that money while I paid their entire mortgage. I sat in Desmond's living room staring at the report. They were making money off me living there and still charging me $8,000 for bills? That's fraud, baby, Desmond said softly. What are you going to do? Before I could answer, my phone rang. Unknown number. Miss Johnson? This is Patricia Simmons from First National Bank. I'm calling about your parents' mortgage account. We show you've been making payments through autopay for. That's been cancelled, I interrupted. Yes, we're aware. Your father called this morning requesting a forbearance extension, claiming you'd agreed to resume payments, but there was a technical error. I'm calling to verify. Did you authorize payment reinstatement? My jaw clenched. Absolutely not. I will not be making any further payments on that account. Ever. Understood. I'll note that in the file. The payment is now 30 days overdue. Thank you for clarifying. After she hung up, I felt something shift inside me. The guilt was still there, but it was buried under something stronger, resolve. 6 weeks after I canceled the autopay, Aunt Patricia called me, frantic. Jasmine, your parents got a foreclosure notice. 60 days to vacate. Your mama's in bad shape, talking about how her daughter abandoned her. I had to say something. What did you say? The truth. About how much you were paying, about them kicking you out, about the refinances. Your Uncle Jerome and I did some digging. Baby, they owe $178,000 in credit card debt too. They've been living high on borrowed money for years. That Sunday I drove to the house. My house key no longer worked, they'd changed the locks. I rang the doorbell like a stranger. Daddy answered, looking older than I remembered. What do you want? To talk. All of us. He stepped aside reluctantly. Inside, Mama sat on the couch looking fragile, tissue clutched in her hand. Deanna and Kevin flanked her like guards. I know everything, I said, standing in the center of the room. The refinances. The rental income from the basement. The credit cards. Kevin's food truck. All of it. Daddy's face reddened. How dare you? No. My voice cut through his building rage. You don't get to be angry anymore. You used me. For 3 years you took my money, treated me like an ATM, and when I asked, not refused, asked, to create a transition plan, you threw me out like trash. We gave you everything. Mama's voice rose, shrill with desperation. You gave me the same childhood Deanna and Kevin got. But you made them think they were owed more. You paid for Deanna's car, Kevin's education, their fun. Me. I worked for every single thing I have. And then you decided my success meant I owed you a lifetime of payments. Deanna stood up. You're so self-righteous. Sit down, I snapped. You drove a Lexus I unknowingly paid for while calling me selfish. You went on vacations I funded while I worked overtime. You lived off my generosity while mocking my big britches. Tears streamed down Mama's face, but for the first time they didn't move me. The foreclosure proceeded. I watched from a distance as they scrambled, first trying to refinance again, denied due to debt ratios. Then attempting to sell, but they owed more than the house was worth. Kevin moved in with friends. Deanna found a small apartment, though she had to sell the Lexus to afford the deposit. My parents ended up renting a 2-bedroom apartment across town. The pride that had filled Daddy's voice when he screamed my house was gone, replaced by bitter silence whenever anyone mentioned where they lived. Aunt Patricia kept me updated. Your mama cries every day, she told me. But she's also starting to understand. Jerome sat them down, showed them the numbers. Jasmine, they genuinely didn't see how much they were taking from you. Does that make it better? I asked. No, baby. But it's something. Desmond and I postponed the wedding. After 3 years of bleeding money, I needed time to rebuild. My retirement account grew. My emergency fund reached 6 months of expenses, then 12. I bought my first house, a beautiful 3-bedroom with a garden. The guilt never fully disappeared, but it transformed into something else. Understanding that love doesn't require self-destruction. That boundaries aren't betrayal. That sometimes the most loving thing you can do is stop enabling destruction. 3 months after the foreclosure, Mama called. Jasmine, can we talk? Really talk? We met at a coffee shop, neutral territory. She looked tired, older. I'm sorry, she said simply. I didn't see it until it was too late. Your daddy and we got caught up in trying to maintain a lifestyle we couldn't afford. And you were there, successful and generous, and we just took. We took and took until you had nothing left to give. You took more than money, Mama. You took my trust. My peace. I know. Tears filled her eyes. Can you ever forgive me? I looked at this woman who'd raised me, who'd braided my hair and packed my lunches, who'd also exploited my success and kicked me out when I set a boundary. Maybe, I said. Someday. But not today. 1 year after I canceled the autopay, I sat at my kitchen table in my own house, paid for with money I'd saved, in a neighborhood I'd chosen, with a garden where I could breathe. Desmond was making dinner, humming off-key, and for the first time in years, I felt genuinely peaceful. But in my hands I held a letter. Purple envelope. Mama's handwriting. Inside 3 pages. I made myself read it. Dearest Jasmine, your daddy had a heart attack last week. He's stable now, but it scared us both. In the hospital, watching machines keep him alive, I realized something. We're running out of time to make this right. I've been attending therapy, something I never thought I'd do. My therapist says I have enmeshment issues and financial codependency. Fancy words for what I already knew deep down. I used you. We used you. Your daddy's pride won't let him say this, so I'm saying it for both of us. We were wrong. We took your generosity and turned it into entitlement. We made you feel guilty for having boundaries. We treated your success like it belonged to us. Deanna's in therapy too now. She told me she was jealous of you her whole life. That she knew you were the smart one, the strong one, and she resented you for it. She's working on herself. Kevin's finally holding down a job. Not fancy but honest work. He says he's ashamed of the man he was when you were supporting us. Daddy won't say it, but I know he regrets what he said that night. Pack your things and get out. Those words haunt him. In the hospital when he thought he was dying he kept saying your name. I'm not asking you to forgive us. I'm not asking you to help us financially ever again. I'm just asking you to know, we see you now. We see what we did. And we're sorry, We lost the house but you didn't take anything from us, baby. We destroyed it ourselves. You just stopped letting us destroy you too. I love you. I'm proud of you. And I understand if you never want to see us again. Love always, Mama. I set the letter down, tears blurring my vision. Desmond came up behind me, wrapping his arms around my shoulders. You okay? I nodded, then shook my head, then nodded again. I don't know. She apologized. Really apologized. But Daddy's had a heart attack and I feel complicated. Yeah. Desmond kissed the top of my head. You don't have to decide anything today. Or tomorrow. You get to take all the time you need. That night I called Aunt Patricia. How is he? Really? Recovering. Stubborn as ever. But scared, Jasmine. Really scared. I got Mama's letter. I know. She showed it to me before she sent it. Took her 3 weeks to write. I took a deep breath. Can you give me the hospital's address? I'm not promising anything. But I'll think about visiting. 2 days later I stood outside Daddy's hospital room. Through the small window I could see him, tubes and wires, looking smaller than I'd ever seen him. I didn't go in that day. Or the next. But on the 3rd day I pushed open the door. He looked at me and for the first time in my life I saw my father cry. Baby girl, he whispered. I'm so sorry. I stood at the foot of his bed, tears streaming down my face. You hurt me, Daddy. You hurt me so badly. I know I did. We talked for an hour. He didn't make excuses. Didn't blame his blood sugar or stress. Just admitted finally that he'd been wrong. When I left, I wasn't sure if I could fully forgive him. But I knew something else. I could survive without his approval. I had survived. And that knowledge was worth more than any apology. Desmond proposed that spring in my garden. We married in a small ceremony. Just us, some friends, and Aunt Patricia. My parents weren't there. Neither were Deanna or Kevin. But 2 weeks after the wedding, Mama sent flowers with a card. Congratulations. You deserve every happiness. I cried reading it. Not from sadness but from the complicated ache of loving people who'd hurt you, of setting boundaries that broke your own heart while saving your life. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe and hit that notification bell. Share your own stories in the comments. You're not alone in this struggle. And remember, choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's survival. Sometimes the people who gave you life aren't equipped to honor the life you build. And that's okay. You can love them from a distance. You can forgive them in time. But you never, ever have to set yourself on fire to keep them warm. The ending wasn't happy. Daddy recovered but we never fully reconciled. Mama and I talk maybe once a month. Surface conversations, careful and polite. Deanna sent her apology email last Christmas. I replied with, thank you, and nothing more. Kevin and I are strangers. But I'm happy. Desmond and I are expecting our first baby. In my garden, surrounded by the life I built from ashes, I've found peace. Not the peace that comes from perfect reconciliation, but the deeper peace of knowing I chose myself when it mattered most. They didn't lose everything because I canceled an autopay. They lost everything because they built their lives on a foundation of debt, entitlement, and the exploitation of my love. I just stopped being their foundation. And that had to be enough. Thank you for reading. If you've experienced family financial abuse, please know, you deserve to build your own future. Setting boundaries isn't cruel, it's necessary. Drop a comment if this story moved you. Subscribe for more real stories about family, boundaries, and choosing yourself.